Can I start? Hi, everybody. So, my name is OWASP. I came from Cluj. That's a place in Romania, a city in Romania. And today we're going to be discussing mainly about open source tools that you can use to, I don't know, maybe build a cybersecurity platform for your company or for you or for whoever needs that. And one of the things I'm going to mention is that it's going to be all about open source. It's not going to be anything commercial, so this is not a sales pitch or anything. And another thing I'm going to mention, it's going to be very focused on either if you want to use or not those tools within your company. Most of the companies have none of them. I mean, not even commercial, not even open source. So you could start with the open source one. If they're not sufficient for you and for your needs, you can always move to the commercial ones, but at least start with something. So if you need any of the tools you're going to see here, start using them and move to the commercial ones when they are not sufficient for you. And we're going to be covering mostly what's called the blue team, or the part that actually takes care of securing the infrastructure, the endpoints, and not the part that's going to take care of application security or penetration testing or, I don't know, all these other areas for security within a company. So this is me. Cluj-Napoca is in Transylvania. I'm sure that you know. So I came from a company that develops endpoint protection and data loss prevention. I moved from them. Now I'm working with a British company in the industrial IoT sector. We had some Magic Quadrant products in the last few years, so that's cool. And we're going to be talking about these areas within a cybersecurity platform. There are many which are commercials, and they are great. But for some companies, it's way too expensive. And we're talking about maybe tens of thousands of US dollars per month in terms of subscription. That's a lot for most of the companies. And the tools I'm going to be presenting can be easily orchestrated, can be placed in Kubernetes clusters or any other type of clustering system for containers, if you like. And you can use them to build scalable infrastructure for your cybersecurity posture. We're going to be starting with network protection, which is composed of various firewalls, intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems, traffic analyzers, everything that goes into this area. Then we'll move to something which is not quite powerful in the open source space, and that's unfortunately the detection and response part. This is take more automated actions to your posture. I'm going to be detailing some threat intelligence feeds and what's open source and what can be used. If you're using none, you should start using those at least to get your insight. Malware analysis, we have open source sandboxes that you can use, and those sandboxes can be quite handy when you don't know or you don't want to, I don't know, detonate a file within your network or endpoint. Some cloud security, which is again not that very good in the open source space, and I can get that because it has so much traction at the moment, the cloud security part, that the companies are focusing on developing these tools, and most of the times they don't have the resources to publish any open source alternatives for it. And lastly, ways to centralize all of the data, all of the logs, and what can you use to make some sense out of all that data, which is a lot in an IT department or in a cloud environment. So, network security, which can be, I have a slide which has like 15 tools. I'm going to be showing just a few, detail some features. Based on them, when you're going to look up on Google or on GitHub, you're going to find more tools that you can use to scan your network or stuff like that. We have pfSense. This is probably the most and the best open source security tool out there, from my point of view. It has everything almost. It has intrusion detection based on Snort. It has intrusion prevention. It has a quite good through output for the packet filtering part. So you can use this even in a more demanding environment that requires good through output. Of course, they have commercial part. And if you want to go with the commercial part, you're going to get appliances, very big appliances with all the hardware necessary to have a good through output on your network. It has a firewall. I mean, you can easily add this to your, I don't know, to your home or to your small office and have some firewall and routing options for both on-prem, but they have also some extension to the cloud. So you can add these rules to allow access based on some restriction or some policies to your cloud environment. Yeah. Then we have Zeek. Zeek was used to be called Bro, but they didn't like the association with Big Brother kind of stuff. So they recently, I mean last year, I think they changed the name to Zeek, but it's the same platform, it's the same engine, the Bro engine, which is based on rules, and it's very, very powerful. If you're going to try any of these tools, you're going to be amazed on how good they are built, and they are open source. And most of them, Snort, like for example Snort, is used in a lot of companies that offer commercial firewalls, like Sophos. Sophos Unified Threat Management has Snort on the backend for all the IDS, IPS part, which is a statement. If you use Sophos, you know that their product is good. So Sophos has this on the backend. Also, Snort is backed up by Cisco. Talos, their threat intelligence agency or business, is the one that maintains all the rules, the powerful rules that are part of Snort. So again, that's a good sign that somebody maintains these tools and they provide very good people to do that. Think about it. They use it, so they have to maintain it in a good shape, let's say. It has a lot of users. It has a lot of contributors on GitHub, so that's another good sign. Of course, there are also other tools in the network security side. You have next generation firewall from Untangle, if you heard of them. Again, a good product, good compared to pfSense, not that good from my point of view, but still a good product, open source product. You have Smoothwall, which is they have a free offering, and Smoothwall has a nice feature of content filtering, by the way. I saw a lot of parents on Reddit and online. They are using that to prevent bullying and stuff like that for their kids, and it works. So it actually works. And then you have some open source web application firewall, something that most of us know, which is mod security. You add that to Apache, you add that to Nginx or your web server. But it also has a nice web interface. I didn't know that before I made the research for this presentation, but they have a very nice UI, which is open source, so now it's easier to maintain or work with the rules there in mod security. Like Snort and Zeek, you have Suricata, which is open source. You have OWASP. Then for network analysis, you have Wireshark, the popular Wireshark, and which is a great and powerful tool you can use. Still not open source, but they have free version. And for network or endpoint visibility, you have OS Query from Facebook. They use that to identify stuff within their infrastructure, but it's very good. It has this SQL-like syntax where you can just select ID and name from, I don't know, computers or servers, and you can see what's there. It works also, I found out a couple of days ago. I've been attending a training, and I found out that it works also for containers in Kubernetes environment. So if you're using those, again, you should look into OS Query, which is open source by Facebook. Moving next. Incident management and response. This is not that well developed, or it has not such a great presence like the network security part, but you do have tools. You can, and you should go there and inspect to see if they fit your needs. Like I said, there are so many companies that have none of these tools in place. They don't have the commercials one, so they could at least start with something. And the open source part is good to start with. When you need it, when your customers require it, you can move it, you can move to commercial product, which are more powerful, unfortunately, but they come with the price. Response manager, you have Hive and you have Siphon. Siphon, I think it's maintained by a very big security company. I don't remember their name, but it's big. So they are, again, well maintained. They offer you the options to collect the data from CM or from data loss prevention system, endpoint protection, firewalls, make some alerts based on that. You have the options to collaborate within teams, so everybody can go there and look at the incidents they were found within their infrastructure, their network. You have ticketing. I think, Hive has ticketing system like a ServiceNow feature, but within the Hive. You could easily use that to track and to make sure the teams get the work done when incidents occur. There must be other tools there. I haven't found any that compared to this tool, so these are quite mature. Siphon it uses a Docker file to deploy, so it's easy to install that in any server or in a farm of servers, and you could easily scale that to meet your needs. So it's containerized, it's container ready, it's super easy to use. You just have to Docker compose up it and that's it. Okay, cyber threat intelligence feeds. This is very important when you want to stay up to date with the threats. You cannot, as a human being or a team of human beings, you cannot follow everything. You don't have the power to do that. So you should always subscribe to some of the security feeds which are public. They are maintained. They have daily updates. You can simply search for more than what's here. You have the one from Alien Vault. I think it was the first open source one, and then people started following this approach because it's easier to get the crowd to maintain your list than you to do it. So this crowd-like approach is very effective. We have major security vendors that have open source products just to get the crowd, the people, the contributors in their network so they can make use of all this shared knowledge, which is, again, a benefit for everybody, not just for the vendors. You have threat feeds, which is a list, a public list. You have a GitHub repository, which maintains a lot of, I had no space to list all of that from Awesome Threat Intelligence. It's a list of 50, 60 sources that you can look at. You won't be able to use all of them, but use some, which you notice that are updated, that are reliable, they don't go down. You can use those to take your insights for your platforms or for your teams. There's another one, your everyday threat intelligence. That's not a very inspired name, but it is, and it has features like this analysis of an attack or of a source, where it originated, how it traveled throughout the internet, and how did it reach maybe your company? How did it enter within your infrastructure? Maybe a phishing attack, maybe, I don't know, some malware, some porn site, I don't know. You can try to find out how you were infected, if you were infected. Maybe you can find it here. Just go out there and look for the stuff that's available within the platform. Okay, malware analysis. This is a big thing. I mean, I don't know how many of you actually know about this technique, but it's very important because companies cannot afford to test stuff on, I don't know, a developer's endpoint or even on a security engineer's endpoint. If you do that, you're most likely going to end up hacked or tricked into something. So don't do that on your own endpoint. Don't do that on any of the company's endpoint, which is not designated for that. And by that, I mean it has all the security in place to not escalate within your network. So keep it isolated. Make use of the offering within this these tools, but don't get it out in your company. Yara. Yara is used by a lot of companies. I had no clue that it's so popular, actually. It's a tool to match signature-based threats, and I think also some other type of identifications for malware. And it's used by CrowdStrike, which is a big company. It's used by Raytheon, which is a very big government contractor within the US, and probably not only. Symantec and WebSense, those are, I think, the same company now. And Airbnb. Airbnb has a nice feature, which is free on GitHub. It's called Binary Alert. It's a cool product that you can use to search for malware on your systems, on your network or endpoints, and I encourage you to do that. Also for malware analysis, you have this tool, which is a sandbox, so you can actually get an attachment from your email and drop it there. It will most likely be marked as a threat. If you don't know that sender, if you don't trust it, and you want to see what's there, you can use your sandbox endpoint to detonate that file and see what's inside. So I encourage you to do that this way and not after you open the file or your company employee or your colleague open the file, if you're in this position within your company. So this is a great tool. I used it, and I noticed it's signature-based, so there are lots of feeds, thread feeds that have SHA-1 or MD5 sums of files and files with known threats. So they're checking against all of that, but they also provide some insights on the file itself. So that's for malware analysis. Cloud security. Cloud security, like I said, is not that well covered within the open source space, and I get that. It's new, it's a hype. Everybody wants cloud security now. There are companies that are offering cloud security, most of them being paid companies, commercial companies. But we have these players which are very open source friendly, let's say. We have Twistlock, which I think it's an Israeli company, so it's here. Okay, since yesterday. Also PureSec, it's a Palo Alto, no? No, but they have these tools, Cloud Discovery. I tested it. It works, it's okay. They have these tools where they fetch an inventory of all your cloud assets. They provide some security posture on those cloud environments. They are scanning for like AWS config for any unsecure resources or access management, which is done wrong and not the way AWS recommends it through their CIS framework or well-architecture framework. It has some compliance. I don't know if it's open source. I haven't got to that to check if their compliance part is open source. I saw that screenshot on their webpage. Probably it is. I don't know for sure. But you can try it out. And you can make use of these features for a lot of serverless and Kubernetes infrastructures, which is, again, a great way of starting analyzing your security posture within the cloud environment. So do that as well for your cloud. If you're using multi-cloud environments, again, you definitely need to get a grip on all those resources. You can do that starting with open source tools. If they're not sufficient, go with Twistlock, go with, I don't know, AppSec. There are lots of companies that do cloud security. Like our colleague here mentioned, they get bought very quickly. I mean, because they do a good stuff for the security part. Okay, so we covered cloud security. What else? Yeah, log management and data analysis and compliance management and policy enforcing. That's something, again, which is not that well within the open source space. You have, I think this one comes from Apache Metron, if you know the platform. It's a very sophisticated platform, open source, that has lots of Apache components on the backend, Hive, Hadoop, Spark, to analyze and to enrich the data from the network. So it relies on sensors to acquire the data, the telemetry from your network and your endpoint. And based on the rules you compose there, it's going to drive some insights, some analysis. You're going to get them listed here. You can inspect them. And maybe at some point, you're going to notice some anomaly, because at the end, that's what you're interested in, to find something that's not normal and to alert the proper people within your team or your company to do something about that anomaly. Because if you don't know or you don't monitor the network traffic, the user behavior, cloud environments, if you don't monitor, you don't start with monitoring at least, you're not going to be able to protect yourself. Like I was in the other room and somebody from Microsoft said that they have this mindset that they are already breached and somebody is already inside their network. So they bypassed already the fact that we are not breached. Let's do something since we are. Let's try to have this knowledge throughout the teams, and let's try to be prepared because we are breached. Let's do something about that, not if we're going to get breached. There's another tool which I found recently. It's a very complex one if you use it. I don't know who uses it. I found it on GitHub. It's public. But this is cool because it has some features that you cannot find anywhere. It has the Spark and Jupyter hubs, which is something you can use in collaboration with your team or teams. And you can work together to create machine learning algorithms for the data all this infrastructure collects. So this is Haunting ELK. It's based on Elastic Stack. And it has the streaming from Kafka. It integrates with Hadoop analysis and Spark. And it has another great feature from my point of view. Again, that was something that she mentioned, and I knew this quote, is because defenders always think in lists. We always, when we defend a company, we put checkboxes. Okay, we have a firewall. We have an intrusion detection system. We did all by the book for EIM. And we say, okay, we're secure. But that's not the way hackers do. They think in graphs most of the times. How can I get there, and from there get there, and I can exploit that? So it's different. This tool has these graph frames, which is a graphing system that you can use with the data. Maybe you enriched in Spark with Jupyter. So you can use that data to create graphs. And after you have that, and it makes sense for you as a company to notify somebody, you can use also a great tool, which is ElastAlert. So you can easily send mails or connect it to AWS, I don't know, Q and SMS tools. So you can easily make use of all the tools available here. What's great about this feature is maintained, about this tool is maintained. And there are plans to add OS query as well, the tools I mentioned earlier for endpoint identification and infrastructure analysis by querying data, like in SQL. Just open the page on osquery.io and you will see how easy it is to use SQL-like queries for your network. And it's going to have Terraform integration support. I don't know what that's going to mean exactly, so how is that going to transform in a cool feature, but let's hope it does, and by that it's going to create cloud formation or something like that that could easily be forced on an AWS account or something like that. Okay, I think that's pretty much it. I had this slide for another presentation, and I was like, it would be a shame not to have it here because it's a good collection, but it's not just for the blue teams. This is, again, a cool collection for use also for red teams, but purple team as well. They're on the DevSecOps side. You can make use of all these open source tools. There are some which are not open source, but most of them are open source. They're great. They have results. We had a 3 days training on DevSecOps, and most of the tools that I have listed here a year ago were actually part of that training, and I noticed that they actually produce good results for your companies and for your company, and they are maintained. So start using at least those that make sense for you where you're at, if you're in the security business. That's it. I'm going to be thanking you, and if we have time, Juana, we have time? If we have time, I can take some questions for... Thank you. So I haven't done nothing special but stitching some parts here. In my description, I said that I'm going to be presenting a cybersecurity platform. It should have been most of the tools you see here under one roof, but we didn't get the chance to do that, unfortunately, so I'm apologizing somehow for that. Follow me on LinkedIn because we have in plan to post something on GitHub in terms of open source platform for this. So it's going to be those tools, and we plan to have a feature like, hey, for my intrusion prevention system, checks north or Zeek or whatever makes sense. Put also a firewall on top, and maybe add something for the analysis part. So this is what we have in plan to post as either OWASP project or on GitHub. So follow me for more info in the future if you like to know. So questions? Yeah, when we go eat, right?
Thank you very much. Lunch is served outside, and we will resume presentations at 2 o'clock. So.
Thank you.